It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. It's Feedback Friday. And this Feedback Friday, Morty's here. Oh, Morty's got skin cream in front of him. There's Morty. There's actually light while I'm recording now, so I don't look as much as a ghost. Hope everybody liked the, well, I don't know if everybody's watched it yet. I tried something different. I moved the Choo Choo Charles stream I did on Twitch to YouTube this time, but I downloaded it to edit it and to take out the like bathroom breaks and stuff and the beginning so that it was a bit better for like a replay audience. I accidentally deleted it from Twitch in that process. So if you're like, what? Where did the Twitch stream go for this week? That's what happened. So, sorry about that. I thought it was a particularly funny stream, which is why I passed. But I normally just export like the year of the game thing. I exported from Twitch, so it just goes right over raw because I hate editing in the web-based programs. There's no precision. And so I downloaded it and hit the wrong button. I've been doing that a lot lately. I've been fucking shit up. And you know that's like, do you want to? Yes, not reading it. It was the end of a very long day and a 3-hour stream. But yeah, there's an example of a game that I thought when the first hour or so, I'm like, I'm not sure I'm gonna like this. And then I got the hang of it and it's like, no, this is fun. And this is not just rambling. This is relevant to what I'm going to talk about today. So let's do the help support this channel. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Or buy a one-time Leanna Carrot session for someone who but can't afford it. Coffee.com/LeannaK. If you are in the Toronto area, specifically the north of Toronto area, check out the Unbirthday Ball. You can also buy virtual tickets to the Unbirthday Ball if you're not in the area, or help someone attend who can't otherwise afford it. Link in the description box below. In January, after the Christmas break, there's this thing you have to do on YouTube because I took a week off and traffic's always down during the Christmas period. People's routines are disrupted. They're just not doing what they normally do. And so you do something a little bit more search engine-y to goose it. And I was expecting to take shit for the Justin Baldoni content just because of the topic. I mean, it's contentious. I'm not going to complain about people having strong views regarding something like sexual harassment. It's icky, to say the least, and it hits emotional buttons. So, that's one of those things where even though people had strong opinions and some of them I don't agree with, it's one of those things where nobody really knows what happened. Nobody was there. I gave my reasons for my opinion. And that's critical. In order to make a persuasive argument, you have to present your reasons for your opinion. It's not just, well, this is what I think because reasons, right? I did not expect, because the game has been out for, it came out like October 31st or something like that. So it's been out for 2 months. And the fact that I said, somebody paid me to play this and give my honest opinions on it. And the fact that I said that I was not, Dragon Age lost me on Inquisition. And, I was hardly a true believer. I did not expect people to still be so fucking angry over a video game. And this is where, you know, some people would just sit here and rant about the whole thing. And for me, it's not about the video game. I mean, the dislike bombing, whatever. It's happened before. And I did gameplay capture because I expected people to go, bad game, bad cake, bad gameplay, bad game. The gameplay's right there. And yet somebody still pulled the, I've been watching you for years, but bad take. It's funny because I don't recognize the name from the comments. So, sure, maybe they watch, but they don't comment that often. And I'm sorry, it doesn't matter how long you've been watching me. Bad take, bad game, bad gameplay, bad game. It's just not a compelling argument. And I'm not saying that to make fun of the person. I'm saying this because if you want to be effective, if you want people to listen to you, to me, if you're gonna bother to make a comment, make it count. And I get the sense that surrounding this particular game, it's all about loyalty to whatever faction you're a part of regarding the social content of the game, which is not, I don't. That's another thing. I mean, I even said, and I'm going to deal with the whole Tosh thing in a separate video. So don't worry, you get to yell at me again. But that guy who took out a burner account on Discord to attack one of my moderators and claim we harmed his mental health because I said playing a game and watching a game are not the same thing. And if you haven't played the game, you haven't played the game. Not cool, man. Fuck you a lot. You know, it is unacceptable to attack one of my mods because of something I say. I don't pre-clear everything with them. That is just fucking unacceptable. Like, grow up. And really, there is an element of this that is just, holy shit, grow up, right? And that goes across the board for all of these damn political factions in gaming, right? Like, every game does not have to individually validate you as a person. And I can say this about Veilguard because those non-binary rook options are garbage. And I don't talk a lot about not having a normal gender identity because of bullshit like that. Because when even the so-called allies to something think non-binary people, the minute it's about being non-binary, you go on this big stump speech about how when I finally decided I this or that and that. No, the average person does not talk that way, especially to somebody you don't know that well. That is not life. And I said that. And still, people are so... I do not believe that the people who have these very, very strident opinions about the social content in Dragon Age either played the game at all or they played it not with an open mind, right? And I say this as somebody who went in prepared to really not like the game. I said in advance, like I did content in advance saying, I feel like this franchise is left behind. They're not making games for me. And there were a few parts. There's one part where Emmerich starts going on about how much younger Rook is than him. And I'm sitting here thinking, BioWare, part of the reason I picked this character as a romance option is because I am 46 years old as a player, it felt weird to go after the youngins. Now, Emmerich is awesome. Seriously awesome. Really interesting things. I'll do a video about masculinity in Dragon Age Veilguard. But still, it's like there was no place to set my age in game. You can make your character look older, but the character is hardwired to a certain age. And at that moment, I'm like, and that's what I was expecting from this experience. But despite those clunky moments, right? It's weird. The other thing that drove me crazy, obviously I bear more than a passing resemblance to Lace Harding, right? I have a lot of freckles. Those really dark freckles just looked off to me. Like, that's sun damage if your freckles are that dark, okay? She should be wearing a hat like Cole in Inquisition, right? That took me out of it as well, but she's a great character. Like, and because I went in so skeptical, the whole bad game thing, I'm sorry, there's no way to say that objectively. The game does a lot of things extremely well as a game. And I could be wrong there. But unless you provide a counter argument, you can't just go bad combat, right? What's bad about it? The bad game. What's bad about it? Other than you don't like the people who made it, you don't like who the game was made for, and you're pissed off that it wasn't your type of person who was centered. Because I can say, you know, some of the map stuff, there are a lot of tabs because it's optimized for console. This was the first Dragon Age game I played on console, partially because I was worried about how my machine would run it with the stream as well. But part of it was just, it's gamepad, so we might as well play it on console. And that was a big shift for me, but I wanted it to just work. It only crashed once the entire time I played it, so probably the right choice. But there was a lot of sub-menuing, a lot of tabbing, and I've been thinking, how could I have made that more fluid? And I'm not sure. I get used to it, right? You get used to toggling local map, world map, and then I didn't see the fast travel to Lighthouse button for hours during my first playthrough. So there's some stuff in the tutorial part of the game. It would be useful if they did little like tooltip highlights later on as an option, right? There's stuff that can be improved. It did my head in that the way you manage leveling for your companions was all one page, right? So your armor and your skill tree, where the skill tree was a subset of your armor page for all your companions. But for Rook, your playable character, the character page was one. Then you tabbed past companions to skills. And I think the reason they did that is because your rune part on the character page, your weapons and armor page, fills up the space that your leveling thing does. And it's the same button prompt as well. But let me tell you, that was weird. And so teaching the game could have been a bit better. I wish they'd done character, skills, companions as well. There's an annoying thing where you'll read a codex entry and it won't mark as read. You have to go back and do it again, sometimes multiple times, for it to mark as read. That drove me crazy. So see, I'm not saying the game is perfect, but it's good. And I think that these really strident echo chambers, both, on the more progressive side, but also, for lack of a better term, the anti-woke side, it's not good for gaming. It's not. Like, people, there's not enough happy in the world. And if people really like something, just let them like it, You want to drool over your anime girls and, a ton of, animated porn. You go right ahead. Let other people have what they like, for one. But also, it isn't good for you. And that person who attacked my moderator after I put out that video, fucker took out a new Discord account to just block evade, to go after them. Like, fuck. This was somebody I told, look, and this is before the game came out, and he was all, oh this, oh that, and I said to him, look, I'm very concerned that you are tying this much of your identity up in a video game. Like, that's not healthy. It might be good, it might be bad, but either way, it's not worth this. And even after I said that, he blamed us for his panic attacks, and we were hurting him, and that's not healthy. It's not. That is a sign something is really wrong that has nothing to do with the video game. If you are so flipped out that there's one non-binary character in a game, by the way, the character happens to have horns growing out of the top of their head, is like 7 feet tall and bluish gray. Did you have the same issue when the Asari don't have binary gender? It's like you're freaking out over the word when the concept is not new. And I'll be talking about that in the Tosh video. I really think that if it didn't involve the word non-binary, no, they'd probably still freak out. Because it's different time. But the Hanar don't have linguistic gender in Mass Effect the same way. The Asari are a mono-gendered species. They are non-binary. They look like women, but you're missing the point. They're not women. There's no concept of woman in the Asari. So if you can handle that, you're applying a double standard to a non-binary character where there's more going on there. You can yell at me again next week when I talk into this, but it is fair to go look. I said before the game came, before I played the game, I have issues with the whole non-binary terminology because you're talking about a world where, there's this thing called an abomination in Dragon Age, which means someone's possessed by a spirit. And sometimes they call it a demon because it becomes malevolent. But those are binary people. So the term non-binary it means something different in that setting. Since, possessed people are binaries, right? Ideally, they would have had another word. But I have my issue with that, and it stays intellectual. I see why they did what they did. It would not be what I'd have done, but I see nothing wrong with it. The thing about these commercial games is that they have to appeal to so many different types of people. And a lot of those types of people, you know, someone who's gonna say, yeah, Davrin's my guy, is not really necessarily gonna be so into, you know, atypical gender identities. But the whole idea is we watch and we play around the stuff that isn't our favorite thing in order to get the stuff that we like, so that everybody, or as many people as possible, can be involved. And I have said for like 12 years now, you know, the people that don't like the scantily clad, like busty anime broads, gotta allow that so that they can have, you know, the faux hawk kind of butchy gender non-conforming types with awkward glasses, present company excluded. It both have to be valid to have either. And when you're freaking out and attacking something because you don't feel like it's for you, that's not helping your cause. Because if we can only appeal to one group at a time, that's not good for anybody. Because it's great when you're the group that's being appealed to. I say this as somebody who is never the group that's being appealed to. It's great when you're centered. When you're not, it ain't so good. And you end up, you know, playing around a bunch of stuff that you're like, eye roll, to get to the stuff you like, because you can't, you know, you can't have a perfect game. You got to use the games that exist, right? If you want something to totally center and validate you, you're going to be disappointed a lot. And so we've got to make space for the stuff we don't like, so that there's stuff that everybody has something. And there's so much to play. Holy shit, I bought the Owlcat Humble Bundle before the holidays. I was like, I'm not gonna get the Owlcat Beamdog one. It's like, I'm not going to get to some of these for a while, but hey, it's a good price and a bit of money goes to charity. So, and you know, you might notice I'm a big DC Comics fan, at least of the characters. I haven't enjoyed the comics themselves in a while, but Suicide Squad was really not for me. But I didn't sit here ranting for 2 months about it. I'm just like, well, I'm going to play something else because there's so much to play. Holy shit. Like, if you played Dragon Age the Veilguard for 70 hours just so that you could be angry at it, because it's a long game and the end game is super long, why did you do that to yourself? If you thought, I'm not going to like this, and you spent money on it, and you played the whole thing, you know, why? And if you didn't play it, and you're going based on secondhand opinions when you never had the controller in your hand, also, why? You know, acknowledge that playing the game and watching the game aren't the same thing. And does that mean that people who watch the game aren't allowed to have an opinion at all? No, it does not mean that. What it means is that if somebody says, look, it's different when you play it. I think that if I had to sit through and watch Veilguard as like a TV show, I'd be bored out of my fucking mind. And that's why I said, no, this is a game that's meant to be played. You really only get the true enjoyment out of it when you're the one with the controller in your hand. Because it's like, oh, I'm going to put these two characters in the party together to see what they say to each other. That's very different than somebody else selecting who's in the party and you're stuck with it, right? That level of control, being in the driver's seat for those decisions, changes the way you interact with the work. It just does, you know? That's undeniable. And so if someone's saying, look, these features are completely avoidable if you don't want them. My second playthrough of Dragon Age, my Bad Decisions playthrough, I admit I mainly played the non-binary option in the game for research purposes. I may not have picked it just for enjoyment. I did it in Baldur's Gate 3, and it was almost a non-issue there. And it's funny that people didn't freak out that that was a thing in Baldur's Gate 3, too. It's like they're different standards applied. But those non-binary options are buried in a submenu, and you have to pick them to get them. Now, Tosh is a little different, but again, to say, oh, it's the non-binary character, no, that's just wrong. The entire purpose of that character is that everything about them is in between two worlds. Tasha's whole purpose is they're torn between the Qunari culture that their family, which doesn't exist in Qunari culture, comes from, and Ravane, which is where they grew up. And Qunari, from the beginning of Dragon Age, have a purely social role view of gender. And so all Antam, all warriors, are male. And so Qunari would not have a problem with transgender people. They just call them something different. And the issue with Tosh, and I'll get into this more next week, is more about not that rigid definition not working for them. No, they're not a woman that has a role of a man, right? Which is what they say. All Antam are male. All of them. Even the ones assigned female at birth. That's Qunari culture. Warriors, male, done. Because it's high collectivism. And so Tosh is actually saying, no, I'm not a man. Not exactly a woman, but I'm not a man either. But that's not the only cultural point that they're struggling with, right? No matter what happened to Tosh wasn't just going to be girl. That's not the point of the character, right? And this is the stuff in fantasy that has been around for quite some time. I mean, you go back to the Lord of the Rings. Pippin's mistaking Éowyn for a man all the way to that march, right? Like, this gender bending is a thing in fantasy. It's a thing. Frickin' chill. Don't get upset just because all your fake online friends who only are your friend because you all get mad at the same things are mad at this. Like, you're never gonna make real friends if you keep doing that, because nobody wants to be around someone who socializes through rage. They just ain't. Think about it, please, instead of just freaking out again. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for some accused but can't afford it. Coffee.com/LeannaK. Link to the Unbirthday Ball March 15th in the description below. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.